So we're going to talk about some basics here of the unit circle. As we discuss quadrantals. Now on the unit circle, and the reason we call this the unit circle is because the radius of this circle is 1. So as we fill in some things here on this, it's pretty important that we understand that. So here is 0 or 360, as we know. We've already got 90 marked there. Here's 180. And then down here is 270. Can everybody see that okay? So what I want you to think about, our quadrantals are actually our values that we get where we are actually on the x-axis or we're on the y-axis. So in these 4 spots. And again, they're distances. And so if I'm at this point here at 0 or at 360, we know that point is going to be the point 1, 0. If I'm up here on the unit circle at 90, I know I'm going to be at 0, positive 1. If I'm at 180, over here I'm going to be at negative 1, 0. And if I'm down here at 270, I'm going to be at 0, negative 1. Now today we're not filling in the full unit circle. That's something we're going to do next week, since we're focusing just on the quadrantals. But eventually we will fill in these other values, and we'll show you, how that's helpful to us in terms of our pictures and as we move forward. Now, one of the things that we're going to give you, I know that we know from drawing our pictures which of these are positive and which are negative. But I'm going to give you a real easy little shortcut to help you remember these, even if you don't draw your triangle in. And the little saying is, all students think college. I'll tell you what this represents. So in the first quadrant, we know that sine, cosine, and tangent are all positive. That's all. Students, in the second quadrant, only the sine is positive. So the sine and its reciprocal, so sine and cosecant would be positive in quadrant 2. In quadrant 3, tangent and cotangent, that's the t. And then in the fourth quadrant, cosine is the only thing, along with secant, would be positive in the fourth quadrant. Okay, and so hopefully that's helpful to you as far as understanding. Now, the other thing I want to point out to you on the unit circle, as we've already said, the reason we call it the unit circle is this distance is the radius. Now, when we are finding our different values here, so let's say for a quadrantal, I'm finding sine. For sine, we say it's the y value over the r value. So you think about it, if I'm here at this point, and we're going to do an example of each one, the sine, this is my x value, this is my y value. R is the radius. For cosine, it is the x value over the r value. And for tangent, we say it's the sine over the cosine. So basically it's y over r, which is, again, sine over cosine. And think about it, y is the sine, x is the cosine, and sine over cosine is the same, would be the same as y over r. I'm sorry, it's not y over r, it would be y over x. That was a mistake by me, sorry. Okay, so let's do a few examples here and we'll apply this. There's another page on your little packet there that says quadrantals, and this is what we're going to use for our examples. Okay, so the first one, we're at 0 degrees, which 0 degrees is going to put me at the point 1, 0, which is going to make my r value 1, my x value 1, and my y value 0. Now we're just going to work on finding our different 6 functions again. So if I start with the sine is y over r. Well, y is 0. My radius is 1. So 0 over 1 is just simply 0. Now my cosecant, which is the reciprocal, if it's 0 here, the reciprocal of that would be 1 over 0, which we know that's undefined. Cosine is x over r. Well, my x value is 1 and my r value is 1, so 1 over 1 would be 1. My reciprocal of that is also 1. For tangent, it's sine over cosine, or y over x. So if you think about that, 0 over 1 is just simply 0. And then my cotangent, it's also going to be undefined. Now my alpha value, in this case, alpha is just simply going to be 0. Remember, it's going to be between 0 and 90. So anytime the quadrantal is on the x-axis, it's going to be 0. Anytime it's on the y-axis, it's going to be 90. And like I say, we're going to do an example of each one of those. Everybody with me? Okay, so when theta is 90, that's going to put us up here on the y-axis at the point 0, 1. So my x is 0, my y is 1, my radius is still 1. So when I do my sine, I do y over r. Y over r is 1 over 1, which is 1. My cosecant is the reciprocal of that, which is still 1. Cosine is x over r. So x over r would be 0 over 1, which is 0. Secant is going to be undefined. Tangent is, again, y over x, or sine over cosine. So that'd be 1 over 0, which is undefined, which would make my cotangent 0. Again, since we're on the y-axis there, alpha is going to be 90 degrees. Okay, we go down here to 180. If theta is 180, that's going to put us on the x-axis over here at the point negative 1, 0. Again, my r value is still 1. That's still my radius. X is negative 1. Y is 0. So sine y over r, so that's 0 over 1, which is 0. My cosecant is going to be undefined. Cosine x over r, which is negative 1 over 1, or negative 1. It's going to make secant also negative 1. And then tangent y over x, or sine over cosine. So 0 over negative 1, that makes that 0, which would make cotangent undefined. And then my alpha, since it's on the x-axis, it's going to be 0. Okay, let's look at the last one. Theta being 270, that's going to put me down here at the point 0, negative 1. Radius is still equal to 1. So sine y over r. So again, here's my x, here's my y. So negative 1 over 1, which is negative 1. Cosecant is also going to be negative 1. Cosine x over r, so 0 over 1, which is 0. It's going to make secant undefined. Tangent, it's going to be sine over cosine, so negative 1 over 0, which is undefined, which will make cotangent 0. And again, since we're on the y-axis, alpha here would be 90 degrees. Coordinate, and then just kind of sketch in your all students think college. So as we look at the first one here, it says sine is greater than 0 and cosine is less than 0. Well, think about on each of your quadrants, where is sine positive? Well, sine is positive in the first quadrant and sine is positive in the second quadrant. So we've narrowed it down to the top 2 quadrants. Where is cosine negative? Well, cosine has to be negative. It's not negative in the first quadrant. So we would say for this first one, we would be in the second quadrant.